we have those and other sentient creatures do as well. It's very clear, although we can't definitively prove it because the only thing that we can know is subjectivity, right? We
Would you
can't we
say
can't know their
humans
objective.
would you if you so like you would say that a living thing that has consciousness has a system in their brain that tells them if something feels good versus something feels bad, right?
That is the basis for whether or not they should be considered in our moral community, as in uh, we should consider somebody's ability to feel suffering in our moral actions.
What if they were physically unable to experience that?
They still have the sorry,
Well, like
hold on, I'm trying to.
they're genetically they're incapable of it.
In what
Like normally,
in what sense?
like in one sense, like they're unable to have stimulation from
How do you know?
experience. They are blind. They are. Well, how do you know?
Because it's subjective.
Oh, that's true. I guess.
So
Our subjective-
obviously, so let's say we had somebody who, according to what we can observe, like none of their synapses are firing, they don't experience any pleasure or pain, they have no desires. At that point, you're talking about somebody who's a vegetable, and I mean, the only negative the negative aspect in terms of morality about like say causing harm to that person is the effect extrinsically of other people and how they would feel about that situation. So like if that person has relatives that are connected, or like people would see that and go, I don't want there to be a system in place that says if I end up in this state that like they would just kill me. And you also don't want things like you never know when somebody could theoretically regain those things. If it's in a human being, we know that human beings have the capacity for more than that. So, with like there's reasonable doubt to say that like you should just kill them, but yeah, I think that there's a lot of additional arguments on top of that you can sort of say that it makes sense. That's where we can derive a sense of objective morality from, is from the purely subjective experiences of pleasure and pain from any sentient being. Kevin?
I'm still trying to formulate like.
I'm just making sure you're still here. You're good. You can take your time.
Yeah, sorry about that. What would you attribute value to in that scenario then? Like, are you attributing value to the person's perception, or are you
value to that person's subjective
but
experience?
You would have to assume that their subjective experience was identical to your subjective experience.
Well, you have to make that assumption already with humans.
Well, that kind of argument is the same kind of like pedantic argument that religion hails from.
That's not. No, there's nothing.
It's
There's nothing
assuming-
pedantic about that.
It's assuming that like the world works in a specific way, which is the reason why instead of becoming
That is an axiomatic assumption, though. That is an assumption that is baked into you. You feel subjective things, therefore other people like you also feel subjective things. You can never objectively prove to yourself that other people are feeling the same things as you do or seeing the same things as you do. But that is an assumption that you have to make to be able to have this conversation.
True. Okay. All right. Yeah, that's right.
And if you're willing to make that assumption for humans, and you believe that humans are animals who share many of the same faculties and systems as other animals, albeit different.
Well, I think humans are hyper-evolved animals.
Hyper-evolved in
I
what
think
sense?
I think that's the difference
How?
between
In what
animals
way?
and humans. In what way? Just the fact that we can subjectively like understand complex problems.
Okay, so in terms of intelligence, sure. Human beings are more intelligent than other animals.
Other than intelligence is the ability to have a consciousness, right?
Okay. Dolphins have sonar. Does that make them better than us, Kevin?
No, sonar's communication. It has nothing to do with the mental ability.
Sure,
to
but
think.
our complexity evolves from our form of language, right? Like,
It forms so. Our intelligence doesn't necessarily come from language. It's assumed to be so because it's around the same time that we developed. Because I was doing a lot of research on like modern man and like how that works. What happened?
I got a 1.1, but I choked the last Tetris.